So hey guys, welcome to chART, where we chat about art. Today, join us to discuss how the COVID pandemic has affected the art world through two artworks in two different locations.
We are Finn, Mara, Javier, and Christy, and thank you for tuning in to listen to chART podcast. We are so stoked to have you here with us and that you take some time out of your day to hear us discuss any things that are happening in the art world. Without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Let's roll.
I introduce you to Heroes of the Covid-19 by Victor Ochoa, which is a Spanish sculptor. And I don't know how they did it, because in the last picture I showed you, it kind of looked transparent, like the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
This like ghostly
I
thing.
agree.
But apparently it's like resin and, how do you call it? Like it's the same thing you put on your nails. It's the same word.
Nail polish?
Acrylic.
Not polish, the one.
Resin?
It's a white resin thing. But the point is that the critic that most Spanish people are saying, right, is that this looks like a ghost taking it. I was like, one in every 3 comments is like, oh, it's a Casper taking a shit in Madrid and all that. And then they're making memes about like, oh, that's where, like, this is about the toilet paper thingy and all that. But actually, what apparently it is about is that the leg, so if you can see it, it's kind of like a man who's like in this like fetal position, except for the leg, which is where he's standing. And the bronze, it's bronze. So the base of the sculpture is bronze. What it's supposed to represent, right? It's the oldness of art in general and sculpture more accurately. So it's kind of the evolution from the ancient bronze of old sculptures, Greeks and all that, into this modern resin thingy of modernity. And apparently, the sculpture was made 25 years ago. It doesn't have a name from that time. And it was supposed to be a fun, like Pan's Labyrinth, like a satire or whatever you pronounce it. And the meaning was just that. It was transition from past to present and like from bronze to modern things that you don't really know the word for. And it only, when this happened, the guy was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put a mask, which I think is the ugliest part of the sculpture, in here. I don't know if you can see my arrow if I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
So I think the mask is just horrible because the whole thing has this very abstract feel to it. Kind of like, I don't know, like an Alien the movie, I mean, vibe, like H.R. Giger and all that.
Yeah.
And suddenly you put like a very, visual, what's the word? Like you can really see it's
representational.
For me, it's very artificial. You just put a mask there. It's just, it doesn't go with the whole.
No.
It's very lazy.
Yeah, it kind of is. So I'm not like defending it as a great piece of art, but I think it's interesting that the critiques, the people who are criticizing it is just based on whether it's ugly or beautiful. Because I don't think that in this case, the guy is going for aesthetically pleasing.
But then don't you think that's what a lot of people think about art, is that if they're not attracted, like physically attracted to it, they don't give a shit about it?
So I think that's a misinterpretation of contemporary art, right?
Yeah.
Because most people normally walk into contemporary galleries as if they were walking to a national gallery, right? And when you look at a painting by Da Vinci or one of these like great old masters or Velázquez or whoever, even if you don't like it, you can appreciate the craft of it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't argue, oh, I don't like how Da Vinci paints or how Velázquez represents figures, because they're like so good at the craft of painting humans and emotions and that. And that's one thing they kind of do when they, at least in my opinion, when they walk into the contemporary art galleries. They expect something to be objectively beautiful, right? And not going for a different thing. So I don't think in this case, the artist was going for, I want this sculpture to be beautiful the same way the Michelangelo's David was. I think it's just about a deeper meaning. And
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, how a lot of people go into contemporary art gallery and then they look at art as if they're just looking for something that's appealing to the eye.
Right.
That's why, you know, I guess that's also one of the reasons why it makes art so distant or hard to understand for people, is that they feel like the entry point for art is aesthetics.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
While it's actually about, you know, like how this whole thing but then at the same time, I do think this sculpture, it's weirdly mesmerizing in a way that is so ugly.
Right.
It's something so like, it's like part abject, part sublime. If you will.
Those are
We
very
need to
heavy
make an
terms.
episode where we explain those, right? Yeah, it's only episode 1.
Yeah, it's like,
Cool
The
down.
basics.
Wait,
I
I have a couple of questions.
yeah.
Okay.
What's the figure holding behind his back, and what is on his head?
What's on the what?
On
Like,
TED.
what's on his head?
So I don't know what the head thing is. I don't know if it's just cloth or something, or just like abstract hair, a mane or something. But what I do know is that the thing in the back is he's kind of has his finger like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his finger.
It also
Seems
looks
His
pointy.
index finger. You can see it here. Like this is the hand, and this is the finger.
Okay.
I don't know why. I haven't really dwelled into what that might mean. I think it's just. So if you go back to what the statue originally meant, I think it's just, like you have a leg, like the bronze leg is kind of the way into the contemporary art world, and contemporary art is not straightforward. It's just complicated and all that. So that's why the figure is kind of like tangled and all that.
abstracted, just like
Okay.
how society is, how we consume data, how everything's just like a clusterfuck.
Right.
Like,
So
neat
funnily
type
enough,
of meeting.
that is what the meaning has transformed into, now that the guy has reshaped it into homage to people who died or are fighting for the COVID. Right. So what he argues is the bronze leg is old world prior to the pandemic, and we know what it was, right? Because it was in the past, and why it's like bronze is because it represents like kind of the old traditional view of the world, and why the new thing is so tangled and weird and the new materials, because we don't know what's going to happen after the virus and how the world is going to change.
But I do feel it's very forced into that new perspective.
Yeah.
Even more
Right.
now. Like now I just see the guy wearing like a gas mask. He's like has to watch out on his back because of the weird spike. It just feels very forced to, I have this artwork standing in my studio. Maybe now is a good time to try to sell it. Or
yeah, I mean, it is put, so the place where it was put is in the middle of this square in the I don't know what the building is called actually, but the place where the government of Madrid is, not the city hall, not the place where the president lives, but where the community, like in Spain, kind of like the states of Spain, right? So the state of Madrid and the government palace of that's where the statue is.
Okay.
So
why there?
I think it's because maybe Madrid was the most affected city for the COVID, plus capital city. And one thing when you're in Spain is that Madrid is Spain. Nothing really, like if something happens outside of Madrid is secondary,
Yeah.
So if anything happens in Madrid, that's it. Like this needs a statue. So there's a lot of political drama about why the statue, why put it where the statue is, and all that. But that is another thing that is interesting to talk about, how contemporary art now becomes a political statement.
Yeah.
I still think it's deeply unfortunate looking.
What?
Yeah, but then
I don't know. It's very unfortunate looking. Like it's very like complicated, and like Finn said, it feels very forced into a certain narrative.
Right.
But it honestly, like it is really unfortunate looking.
I think being forced into narrative is an issue with it, definitely. But I don't think that it being complicated is that bad of a thing. Because it is a great example to talk about this, how contemporary art is not as, I don't know, it's not like building a statue for a famous person or a historical person. It's about an abstract debate or a dialogue.
It's also interesting how, like, for the artist himself, how he saw the work and how he kind of fit it into different situations, just like I do think like a lot of art or art theory tend to be able to do that. Like obviously, like being able to insert themselves in different things, and it can relate and react to different realities.
And it's not like a change of, sorry.
No, you were saying.
Like it's not like a change of like meaning or setting is new in like it's not contemporary art thing. Like if you go to statues like the David by Michelangelo, which is probably the most referred to example ever, it was meant to stand on the top of a building, like in a facade of a building. So it was supposed to be something to look at from far away. And now it's the example that everyone gives when you talk about how you should walk around the statue to see every angle and all that.
Yeah.
So, or even the I cannot remember his name, the guy who did the skeleton horse for the fourth plinth in London.
Hans Hackle.
Yeah. So he did a statue for the fourth plinth, which we should do an episode about one day.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be looked at in a square, and people walk around it and look up and see it standing there on top, surrounded by all these other statues and all that. And now it's in a museum space, in a room.
Yeah.
You can walk around there and see it from up close. So
I think it's in Guggenheim.
Right. So I don't think that going after this one because it changed meanings and the narrative of it is a fair point. Like you could definitely say I would rather have it mean this, or I like the older meaning better than this one, or I think the new one is forced. That is fair to say, but it's something that happens. It's usual in the art world for statues and all that to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's it's just also very important that we are able to like give it space, that everyone takes something differently from it, because I do think that especially with like artists who mix objects or performance or whatever, they are interested in what people can take away from it,
right,
in terms of, you know, like as in like what they think of it makes the work as well. And given this is like a reaction, or it's been standing in his studio and he uses it as a reaction to the whole pandemic, it's still fun to see what people say about it, because surely he has thought about, oh, the lake looks like poop.
Right.
Like it's impossible to look at it as a person and be like, oh yeah, the bottom bit does not look like shit at all. No, it looks like it.
Right. But I think that's where
I also feel it looks very like violent, and there's no, I don't know, like I would have expected a monument, because of all of those who have died because of COVID, to be a bit more about like vulnerability, and this just to me looks like, as I said, the Weird Owl and Harry Potter.
Right.
It's just violent and it's scary and
you goblin.
I think you just touched on the key issue here, the word monument. The problem with this statue, for me, the biggest problem of it all, is that it was not created as to be used as a monument, and yet now it's put in the position of a monument. You know, monuments are supposed to be symbols of something and are supposed to be approachable. That's the point of a monument. It doesn't make any sense to make a monument that you don't know what it is or what it means. So I think the problem here is that they took, and I mean the people who, if it was a curator or like the government people, whoever decided to put the statue where it is now, is that they were not taking into account that it is not the same to make a statue for gallery, museum, or just art purposes, even if you put it in a public space, than to make a monument about something. Because when you make a monument about something, it is supposed to really represent that and not leave that much room for, you know, different meanings and offensive things and all that.
Okay, I see.
So
like it doesn't seem very commemorative.
Sorry?
It doesn't feel like commemorative. It feels a little...
I think that's where the forced thing you were talking about before comes in. I think that's why it feels forced, like the new narrative, because you're taking a statue that had a very, you know, abstract and intimate and complex meaning, and you're just putting a mask on it and forcing a new narrative into it.
Yeah.
But then is it like that also deals with our perception of what monument are supposed to be?
Right.
Because by building a monument, by, you know, referring to a certain incident, you're already taking a stance.
Right.
And like it's kind of like, because it's so black and white, or like with monuments it's rather black and white, it's like, oh, it's supposed to commemorate these people who were in the war, or this person who did this or that. And given the fact that right now, I think the idea of, you know, a hero, or I don't know, like like a war hero or whatever, it's quite democratic in like the contemporary world. So maybe because it's quite open-ended, it kind of feeds into the idea of like a contemporary monument, if that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, that is a very good approach to this, actually.
Oh yeah, sorry, just go ahead.
I'm just gonna say that I would not say that, like, I'm not defending it against the criticism it was. I mean, I am, but it's not that I am saying you're not right, this is a really good statue, or that I am saying, oh, you people have no idea, this is what it really means. But I think it is interesting that there seems to be this way in which people think critically of contemporary art, and I mean people in general, like the public and all that, that is not really in tune with how you should actually look into contemporary art. And I think that's a thing that should be fixed for the benefit of both people who go into new galleries or museums and look at contemporary art, and the people who make contemporary art.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
So this is a great example of it. Next time you go to see a statue somewhere, don't only look into if it's beautiful or not to your eye. Think about,
what's around it,
what
what's
it means,
happening.
what is it made of? Is it ugly on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Is it ugly, these kind of things. So that's how you kind of tear down this conception that art is just this thing meant to be beautiful and
decorative.
And decorative. Right, that's the word.
I think we should imply those questions on this artwork that I found, because
please do show us.
It's very different, because this one is especially made for the whole situation. So the artist here, he's normally very controversial. I mean, he had to pay a huge fine like 5 years ago because he hung up a dead cow in a small chapel somewhere. And it was like a huge thing. And now he made this, which is a representation of a chandelier with mailboxes on them, and it hangs above the hospital for 8 days. And during those 8 days, people can send postcards and wish notes to a certain address. And then on the 8th day, they will all go into the mailbox. Candles will be lit up that will be placed on the mailboxes. And then on the 9th day, the whole thing will just come down, and then all the letters will be distributed to all the hospitals, and that will be the work. So it's
durational.
Right.
Yeah. And it's also a bit of a performance style.
Mm-hmm.
But this is so different because, I mean, this work is made especially for the whole situation, to commemorate and symbolize hope and commemorate the work of the people on the front lines and everything. But I can't help to feel that the work is forced as well a little bit.
I was going to say that it, like, the performative side of it, it's kind of like
taking advantage of the situation.
It's putting a show. It's putting on a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean,
that's just such a weird construction.
It opens such a big debate when you talk about that, because it's, where does it end the actual homage it's supposed to be paying to the COVID situation, and where does it start the chance for the artist to put on a show?
Yeah.
Wait, is it commissioned?
No, it's his own initiative, and then working together with the city. But I think
feels
if we
really rushed.
yes,
It feels like the idea is not completed. Like it's very, like, again, it's a bit decorative.
yeah, but then again,
What's the point in
decorative
doing that?
in like a very scarce way.
Yeah.
But what's the point in doing that? Like what?
I have no idea, to be
So-
honest.
Well, I guess it's for people to
That's
feel
what our
like they're
listeners want to hear most of all.
Can
It's like
we see
trying
a
to.
picture of it?
Yeah, do you have a picture
Of what?
of the
Of
mailboxes
it.
thingy?
Well, these are the mailboxes. They're hanging on here.
Yeah, they're just fucking
They're just
boxes.
boxes with like little
White
slots.
boxes.
Those are the mailboxes, and they will place candles like on top here.
Wait,
Oh, how
It
does
reminds me of Christmas.
Yeah, it's. I think
Oh.
that was his intention to have like a Christmas tree kind of style, but it's, you know, a time of hope, a time of love, everything being together. But it just,
Okay, well, if we think of it that way, I think it's actually quite smart, because, you know, like in the European culture, and you're supposed to, like, you know, light up the candles on the tree, and then you do it all together, normally with your grandparents, and it's like a very lovely thing. It's kind of the idea of it. It's kind of bringing people together, but through mail and through something that is a bit lost due to the whole, you know, convenience of the internet, but as well as social distancing. And well, if you think of it in like a very homey, very, you know, just like a family community way, I think it's a very romantic work. But I think because it's so minimalistic in a way, it makes it so, as we said, it's forced. It seems forced. It seems a bit soulless.
yeah. I mean, I completely follow your idea of that. The burning of the candle is something that, I mean, we do together. It symbolizes being together. It symbolizes hope and everything, and it's a very romantic, intimate idea. But the execution of that idea, it just doesn't match with that whole that whole vision.
It's very.
I think you should have focused on the relational aspect of it. You know, if it was made for, if the center of the artwork was actually the letters and the way people share, love each other and all that, that would be different than putting on the whole lamp show and all that.
Because I mean, this thing is
yeah,
huge.
it's like convoluted to do all of these things
Yeah.
to get to this ultimate thing that, you know, doesn't feel like the whole process, like it seems like the whole process is a bit of a bore, and then at the end you get to a result which could have been reached a lot faster. It's not like a cool way to have done it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Bauhaus version of what Bauhaus definition of love.
So what is the Bauhaus definition of love then, Christy, for people that don't know?
Our listeners want to know.
Yeah. Please, Christy, explain.
No, like it's very, you know, function before form.
Right.
So it's like very minimalist. It's only there to serve exactly what it's supposed to do. It's kind of like a very logical person trying to explain what do you do to show love to someone, or to show affection to your family, or show affection or support and appreciation and gratification for people in the front line. It's very not condensed, not even condensed. It's not even like, I think condensed is too much of a nice word to use for this. It's very just the sense of human and humanity is stripped away from the work,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
what the work
Right.
initially wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Now you know. Hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. If you especially loved our episode, we would love it if you gave it a 5-star rating and a review, and even consider taking a screenshot of this episode and posting it on your Instagram stories. That way we know that you loved it and other people can find our podcast as well. If you're not subscribed yet, again, what are you doing? Subscribe and get notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at chART Podcast, and if you want to see our faces while we talk, find us on YouTube at chART Podcast as well. We are chART and we'll hope we'll meet you again at some point in the near future. Take care, chART out.
Love you.
See you.
Love
See you
you.
later.
Bye.
Bye.